Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're joining us here on Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, which kind of makes me the voice of fate. I keep telling my husband that and he doesn't buy it. But I am Kat Hobson. I am your host for tonight, and this is going to be a truly fantastic show. I'm pretty excited. The information is not in my normal wheelhouse, although I've been learning a lot more about it. So we'll see what happens. I do want to let people know that I hope everyone is safe and healthy. I know that things are starting to seem like they're, lightening up a little bit. But, we're getting there because everyone has been doing their due diligence. Washing hands, wearing gloves and masks, doing the things. And the information that comes out about what we are supposed to do to keep ourselves healthy and protect others seems to be a little wishy-washy. So I just do all of it, right? Hopefully that's going to do the job. I know that everyone does the best that they can too. My guest tonight is someone that I admire a lot. We have spoken online some as we were getting ready to do the show. I was referred to him, and I'm very appreciative of that. My favorite thing that jumped out at me about Jay was when he sent his bio information. It opens with a Galileo quote. All truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them. And I think that's a very wise statement. Probably because we're still quoting it all these years later. But it rang true. Now, he and his wife Katie founded WPI Hunts the Truth, Wisconsin Paranormal Investigations. But Jay's experiences with the unknown started way before that. In fact, his first experience was ufology, so I'm interested to talk to him about that. He is a cryptozoologist. They really investigate everything fringe. Fringe science, cryptozoology, urban legends, UAP, conspiracy, and the ghost phenomenon, which is in my wheelhouse. So I'm really excited because he's done a lot of things, not the least of which is creating his very own documentary, Finding Jay. And he is just such a positive guy. I think y'all are going to enjoy him too. So let's bring him on. Hi, Jay. How are you?
I'm doing okay. No, I'm just joking. That was a great intro. You'll say how positive I am all the time. I'm like, how can I get grumpy? I don't know. It's not really in me.
It wouldn't last.
Well, but thanks for having me on.
That.
I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being had. So, I am really interested because you have had so many experiences starting with UAP as a child, basically. It's just something
back then they called them UFOs.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I kind of hate just changing things because I feel like changing the acronym is going to cause it's almost like a disinformation thing for people coming like 10, 20 years later that don't know very much and they don't go into the UFO phenomenon. They'll just go straight to UAP. Yeah. So, is this change something that could be construed as creating disinformation for later periods? Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I just think this has just been the awakening. I mean, it's even bizarre. Somebody posted a really cool meme. After CNN released the footage from the government with the actual UFO on their radars, and yet nobody is talking about that. I mean, the coronavirus seems to be the main topic, but this seemed to have gotten buried. So it's like, if you say UFO, you seem crazy. You know what I mean? You say Bigfoot, you sound crazy, but if you use a term like Sasquatch or the wild man or, a cryptid in the woods, it doesn't sound as crazy. So I do think it could be a plan, whereas I'm not for sure. That's just my own personal thought.
Well, I know that I was at Contact. No, I did not go to Contact. I was at the International UFO Congress last summer, and that's where the term had really begun to be a big transition. There was a huge move toward that. Nobody says UFO anymore. When I talked with ufologists who have been ufologists for 20 or 30 years, they were like, well, there's just such a stigma attached to UFO. I said, well, I think eventually there's going to be the same stigma applied to UAP because it's the same topic.
Right.
And, I think that part of the reason people aren't talking about those videos being released is because it happened 3 years ago, almost.
Exactly. Yes. I do remember when they came out, too.
Yeah, and the government talked about them then, and people tried to say that Lou Elizondo had not been in that position and all this other stuff. He had to, he basically had to prove he had actually been part of that program, rather like they did to Bob Lazar, which I found interesting. So it's just weird.
I saw that documentary on Netflix of Bob Lazar. I've always followed his story from way back when, and I always found that fascinating.
I do too. He had payroll records.
Of
and
course.
they still tried to say he didn't work there. So George Knapp did a good job with helping him get that information out. So if it hadn't been for him, he might have just, been pushed back into obscurity. But the research that went into getting that story out was really strong.
Yeah.
But
again,
I digress. This show's about you.
Well, no, we could talk about Bob too. That's fine too, because I always think it's, being discredited enough to be to where he is not, like you were saying about the payroll records, So what? They're saying it is, and there's people saying it's not. So you're never going to believe the guy. Only the people that want to believe are going to believe Bob Lazar, right?
Yeah.
And the ones that are still, a little iffy on it, you can't believe everything you read on the internet, bonjour. But yeah, I believe him though, just for the final record.
I do too. But he did, he did such a great service, I think, by coming out, because I have questions about when everyone says, oh, well, the black triangles are definitely ours. And I'm like, really? Because I know 2 people who have been abducted by black triangles who were badly damaged. The people, not the craft. And, if that's us doing that to our own people, and both, that would be the military ostensibly flying those craft, and the people I know were military and were taken from a camping site. So where's the logic in that? And if that's the case, who do we prosecute?
Really can't answer. It seems to be a hard one to answer in this day and age. I really don't know. I don't think we have any control over anything, Honestly, that's what I always tell people, or at least people that are willing to listen, is, you know what? I leave everything up to God. I know it seems like such an easy answer, but you know what? It's the way I roll. It's the only way I can roll, because, without it, you would just live with high anxiety and fear, so, a lot of people, and I never compare, Bigfoot or aliens or ghosts or anything to God, but I always say, well, I've never seen God, not like George Burns or anything, right? If anybody's old enough to remember the old God movies.
I am so old enough to remember. He did a good job.
What I always say, yeah, he did, or even Morgan Freeman or whatever. No, I've never seen him. It's not so much a belief. It's a faith.
Yes.
And I believe that's just kind of how I conduct my own life, with believing without seeing. It's a matter of my own gut feeling. It's my own personal quest. It's not, trying to go out and, prove it to everybody so that Jay can get a higher social status, or, there's a lot of people that know me, and I'm sure they're sick of me saying it, but I always say I'm just Jay from Wisconsin. That's it. That'll never change, because that's where I want to be. This is where I want to be, is just to go out, hunt the truth, the best of my ability, and just keep going. And it's, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's going to be a lifelong journey for me.
Well, it pretty much already has been. So, it's very difficult to find the answers and be convinced that maybe this is a piece of the puzzle. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you do home investigations and things of that nature as well as the crypto investigating. But it's just so frustrating when you're trying to find something. And I personally, when I get a feeling that I'm coming toward an answer, something that is going to be like a breakthrough moment, and then it just skids off the rails, because it's paranormal. You cannot make the paranormal normal.
No, and I say that too, is this even goes with ghosts or UFOs or whatnot. We all have our theories and opinions, right? All of our speculations. That's what all this is based on. And usually I like to open up when I tell people is, remember, this is just one man's opinion and theory. And while you may not have heard it, you could take it with a grain of salt or not. That's why I usually tell people, just go out and discover for yourself. If you really want to know, then you're going to have to do it, because if I'm out, in the deep heart of the woods and I happen to get a blurry shot of Bigfoot or the best HD clear footage, no matter what, you're going to have your opinion on that, whether it's fake, blurry, whatever, right? So I'm not trying to prove that to the world. I'm trying to prove it to myself, and at least maybe bring something home to show my wife, to say your husband's not as crazy as he seems, doing this. It's a great hobby, and she supports me, and that's the best part of it. And but it would be nice to actually show her, saying, "Hey, look, I was not crazy at all." But I do do a lot of posting or do it on my website, because there are people that are really interested in the subject that can't go out, or they can only go out so many times a year, or they would rather just follow it, digitally, or virtually. And I don't mind sharing that, but I'll never come and claim that's exactly what it is, because really I don't. In my documentary, a lot of weird stuff has happened, and it was captured and recorded, but I still never saw what was behind doing that, and so it's just something that I need to just prove to to myself first and foremost, more than anything in the world.
Well, absolutely. But you have had the experiences that make you believe that this is a real thing, even though you haven't been able to specifically see it as it was occurring. Up close.
And then I joke and say, of course it's real. That's why I do it. But I don't want to come across and say, hey, Bigfoot's real. Come on. His name's not Daryl.
That was a great advertisement.
Oh, I know, right? But, and there are so many investigator researchers out there that are all doing their own thing. It's a cliche when you hear there's no expert in the field, right? Okay, everybody will tell you that. Anybody from the ghost phenomenon or ufology or cryptids, but there are seasoned researchers that try their own methods, their own techniques that I might not have, that I haven't tried yet, or vice versa. So it's not so much about an expert. It's actually trying to learn from everybody. That was actually the main purpose of why I put the film out. It wasn't so I can get rich off of it, because I'm not going to buy an island anytime soon.
Which is tragic.
And Jimmy Fallon hasn't asked me to come on late night yet, which is okay. But that's not the reason why I put this on. I put this on so that people around the world, however far Amazon Prime will show this in different countries, that, if they watched it and saw something odd happen to me, and maybe it happened to them years before, you know what I mean? It's now trying to connect the pieces of maybe behavior of what's going on out there. And I have. A lot of people have reached out to me on through email or Messenger, even comments on YouTube about contacting them about similar things happening, which is good, because then I take that data and I mix that up, and that's the whole reason why I put that out. It wasn't trying to shove Bigfoot down your throat saying, listen, it's real, and this is how I know it's real. I'm going to get scientific on it, because you can't convince everybody about this.
Well, you can't. And the fact that you don't try to speaks volumes about both your personality and your work. But we have to go to our first break. We will be back right after this, and thank y'all for being here. Y'all come back.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
We are confident that none of our hosts are possessed. Being repossessed a few times? That might be a different story. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am so glad y'all are here because I am getting a chance to talk with, I didn't say his name in the intro, which was hilarious, and I apologized because it's just the way that rolled. I was so pleased just to be talking to him. But Jay Bachochin. And
that's right.
Thanks. I practiced. So
well, you know what? I thought you were going to get me more into the Cher or Madonna. It's just Jay. Jay. That's it. Everybody
the film
knows
is
that.
Finding Jay, so
that's
that
true.
would stand to reason.
That's true.
And yeah, I'm just glad that you were. excuse me, that you were here because I thought that it was so bold and so neat that you did your documentary. Not bold as in an odd way, but bold as in, yes, this is me. This is what I do. This is what I'm finding. This is me. And I love that you say the journey is the part that matters.
Yeah, it is.
Because it is where you find yourself.
And honestly, that's what I've always said is, when I do, I take a lot of people out there with me. It's always a revolving door. Some lose interest over the years. But I don't like to hike alone, and I practice safety first, no matter what. There's a lot of people out there that, go guns a-blazing and are going to go out. That, you've got to do what you feel safe with. And what I feel safe with is that somebody has my back, just in case I would have theirs. Because you don't know, and I usually don't even go to the Bigfoot phenomenon when I'm out there. I'm thinking of any other type of predator. And, as long as we have each other's backs and always safety in numbers, that's the best way. And not only that, but if anything odd does happen, you always have a witness, whether it happens to the person you're with or whatnot, you're all right there. So it's kind of, a way to help validate each other while we're out there.
Well, and that's important. All of those things are important. I don't hike alone. Of course, I'm female and, old, but I still don't hike alone because it's just foolish. I think it's foolhardy to do that. The world is not what it was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago. People are different sometimes.
Well,
Why
they
would
sure
you
are.
take any chance with that? You have people waiting on you to come home, and I think it's wise to approach it in that manner.
Well, and you have to. I always say when you're going out, you bring a real compass with you as well as your phone for safety. But then again, I bring like 3 full charge battery packs for my phone just in case. One solar powered. And I always do that with safety. It's like no matter where I'm going to go, the first thing I do for safety is, well, I never tell anybody where I'm going, what time I'm going, what day I'm going, who I'm going with. Therefore, if I told nobody and I disappeared, that would be a problem, But my wife, she always knows. So no matter where I go, I always give her the exact coordinates where I'm at and the time I arrived. And the same thing of when I'm home. Because she really did say that. She goes, you know what? If you ever go out in the woods and you die, I'll kill you. So
there you go.
Just meaning she, has her concerns for that too. So, but which is good because I'm always thinking when you're getting way out there, you don't know what could happen. You don't know if you're going to run into a predator of the woods. And I don't mean just animal, but, you run into somebody who's not supposed to be out there, who's not in a good mood. That's never happened to me yet, but I do come prepared, that way in case anything happens. Except for, a lot of times people say, don't you bring a firearm out with you? And I don't. But there's a method to my madness with that. I do have my, 21-inch machete, and real sharp deer knives right at, each side of my holsters and some, bear spray that will shoot, 33 feet. Providing that the wind's not blowing at us, then we'd be in deep
yes,
crap.
Yes, you would.
But the thing is, it's like I want to have that, and there's a reason why I don't bring a firearm, no matter how crazy and insane it is. I do believe Sasquatch is out there. I really do. Through all of my encounters, and I don't even want to say evidence because really, what is evidence? But I guess it would be more just being out there. And my personal belief on that is that if a common dog can actually sense your fear, I'm thinking that these things, again, it's just my theory, can actually sense your confidence. You're going to be out there strutting a little bit differently, knowing that you have a firearm that can kill anything versus somebody who knows they're not going to shoot that far. So maybe it'll be more of an approachable thing. And that's actually what I'm trying to do. And I know I get both sides of the coin on that of, well, dude, you're crazy. You're playing with fire. But there's something compelling enough for me to keep doing it. And I do research the same areas. And I keep thinking, well, now I've been doing it for a little over 7.5 years. If these things really wanted to take me out, they would have taken me out a while ago.
One would think. Yes.
One would think. So, I always say maybe they do have some sort of humanity within their animalistic human type, beings. I don't know.
Well, I would think that I anticipate, should I come across one, that they would. They might be more beast-like in their mannerisms. I've never had an encounter of that nature. They appear to people I know that do what you do to be as interested in us while trying to avoid us, as we are in them, as we try not to avoid them. We actually seek these things.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of times people, when they're not looking for it, or if they are, because you've got paths in the woods, then you have off the beaten path. And I actually stick to the path no matter what in the dark. And there's, again, a reason for that. When you go into the woods, you're going into nature. You're going into somebody's home, whether it's the ticks sitting on the grass waiting to grab onto you and, and glum onto you and suck your blood, or the mosquitoes, or to anything. You're going out into the woods. If this is Sasquatch's place of residency, I always tell people that the only way I can compare it by staying on the paths is you're looking out your living room window and you could see the street, and you see somebody walking by on the street. That's okay. But what happens when this person's walking on the street and he steps 1 foot on your yard? Okay, your radar, you're going to go up. The flags are going to go up. What's this guy doing? Now this guy's walking through your yard up to your window.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So my approach is it's not so much going out and hunting wabbit. That's what I always say. Like, we're hunting wabbit. We're going to hunt turkey, and we're going to get in camo, and we are going to get off the beaten path, sit and wait. You know what? I always feel they know you're there.
Well, sure they do. It's their environment.
Yeah. So it's more or less trying to get to an area and then sitting and waiting and trying to develop a trust by being out there in the pitch dark. And again, people say, well, why do you go out during the night? Well, during the day, you could always have a false positive with anybody out there. At night, at least you weed that out. I always say, if I'm out there, so can somebody else. And I've always got to take that into consideration. If I hear anything or see anything, I always have to, keep that in mind, obviously. But it's just the way I approach going out there is, saying, hey, you know what? I don't have a firearm. I'm not going to shoot you. You can come up to me. Now, I don't know, what I'm wishing for, because I have a feeling that's why I bring that extra pair of underwear in my backpack.
No doubt.
Exactly.
Better safe than sorry.
I just don't know. So, but like I said, it's the way I approach it, and you got to believe in yourself enough to do it, no matter what people say.
I do know. I have wanted to go on a Bigfoot expedition for a very long time, but I will not go alone. And I think that's very wise on my part. I'm not wise all the time. I am on that. But I would love to have an opportunity for an encounter, because I feel like you do. I don't want to be in their face. I don't want to be doing anything to cause them alarm, especially if there are juveniles around based on what I have heard. So I think that I would always err on the side of caution, but I also have such an affinity and communicate well with animals. It doesn't really matter what kind of animal it is. I'm not great with cats, which is kind of funny given that I am. So,
right.
But dogs, horses, even cows, whatever, animals trust me. And I would like to see if that extended into that realm. Because I just think that would be interesting. It would be an experiment that I personally could judge. It's really hard.
Absolutely.
We have a person here in Alabama. We have several. In fact, I have Trey Hudson on with me Wednesday night, who are always out looking. And when I finally met someone that I could go with, I broke my stupid knee. So I'm still recovering from that. So once that's done, then, and I get back in physical condition, then I'm going to be branching out with that. What would you tell someone who was eagerly looking forward to this, not really an outdoor person, but was capable enough out? I mean, what would you tell somebody new to this field?
And that's an interesting question, because there's all different ways you can approach doing it for the first time. I've never been on a Bigfoot expedition, and that means going out for several days, camping, setting up tent. Still looking forward to that at one point while doing this. Then you have the others that are interested in doing it, but not the camping part of it. And then you have those that are interested in doing it just during the day, but not the night. Going into this, I've always said, safety first, number one, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, is to check out your surrounding areas before you do it. Know the wildlife there, what the dangers are, the different landmarks of where you're going to be through the whole expedition or even that one night. Those are the type of things that you want to know first. That's why a lot of times when I do take some people out, that we will go out during the day so they can get the lay of the land. So they kind of have an idea, of where we're at. Because when you're in the dark, especially in the Kettle Moraine, the canopies and the night, you're just engulfed in darkness. That's why I like it. I have the 1500 lumens torches for lighting, but I usually go with a low red light just to kind of see. I know the paths very well, but just to be able to make sure for safety. But getting back to what you were saying, what would you tell people is just remember, always practice the safety first, no matter what. Definitely check out the locations of where you're going to go, no matter who you're going to go with. Google it, kind of learn it, then learn the different type of animals, then learn who you're going with to make sure that they are prepared for any type of, natural, wildlife out there, or the dangers of the prey, that could be out there. Those are like the first things I would tell people to do. Besides, making sure that, even, this is what I always say, even though you're safe with the bear spray, gun, whatever you're going to use, I always say, make sure that you also use the right type of repellent, or it's like an insecticide that you can actually fuse to your clothes that will keep away something as little as a deer tick that will give you Lyme's disease. That would not be good expedition. So there's a lot of things that you do to prepare to go out. Then once you're out there with somebody that and you're confident with, and believe me, I always tell people I'm no Outback Jack. I mean, I don't think I'm like Mick Dundee from Australia, or anything like that. That was my best Mick Dundee, by the way. Again, I'm dating
pretty
myself.
Decent.
But,
we'll let it slide.
Yeah. But, it's going out with somebody that will have your back.
Yes.
But, those are the most important type of things, because when you go out, and I tell people for the first time when they go out, I said, this isn't David Letterman's Stupid Pet Tricks, and, to where you're going to go out and something is going to happen. I go out weekly, sometimes twice a week, but I'll do it throughout the whole year, through the seasons, besides deer hunting, or, Christmas time, or, what I mean, like that. But I'm always out there, and, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 times that I'm out there, it's nothing. And maybe what was something 7 years ago is nothing today, because I know I've learned what that was. And that's the whole part of doing this, is to go out and listen, to observe. And honestly, I always say my final success to a really good hike is go out and have fun, enjoy nature, enjoy it. As long as you're safe, you're with somebody safe, the area, the dangers, and you feel good about that, then, have fun with it too. So that's what I'd usually recommend to people.
Well, that's great information, especially about, about the insect repellent. That's my favorite.
Well, nobody knows that. And this is not a plug for Walmart, but you can actually go to the camping section and buy Sawyer Permethrin. It's in a yellow bottle with a black label. And what you do is, this stuff is you spray it onto all the clothing you are going to wear out there, from shoes, socks, pants, shirt, hat, a backpack, anything that's material. This doesn't go on your skin. You usually spray this a day before you go out. And what this stuff does is actually fuses to the material of your clothing. And not only is it a good repellent, but actually it actually kills the insects if they get on it, such as a tick. If a tick comes on you, usually if you're wearing bug spray or something, they just, whoa, I don't like this, I'm off.
Right.
This stuff is, when they get on your clothes, they actually will fall off and die, which again is good if we don't want to keep the tick population going. But But that's how I look at it. It's the small things that you don't think about. Here you are thinking about doing a Bigfoot expedition with a big creature, and here we are talking about little tiny deer ticks. That could ruin the fun.
They're still bad to the bone.
They are bad to the bone. Yes.
Yes. We had a family member die of Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So they can cause harm. So
they can.
You
gotta pay attention. Just be safe. Know your guide on who you're going out with. See if they are like Mick Dundee from Australia. If they're really good at that, it just make you feel safer. Because a lot of people will ask me, Jay, do you go look for Bigfoot everywhere? And that answer is no, I don't. I have a rapport with these woods that I'm comfortable with, that I believe they are comfortable with. And it's a strong statement because there's a lot of people, actually, if you go on Amazon Prime and look at some of the great one-star reviews and the haters of my film, that's fine. You're going to have some people that love it and hate it. I get that. But it's the ones that will put out. I live in Wisconsin, and there is no such thing as a Bigfoot here. This guy is delusional. It's a waste of time to watch us. I'm out there a lot. There is something very unique going on out there. And, it doesn't stop with any type of Bigfoot activity. We have encountered lights going through the woods, and I mean bright. So some are what I call like a Sprite or a Tinkerbellish. That kind of boop, boop, boop. They kind of pop up here or there, and that happens throughout all seasons. So I can't blame the snow, can't blame the heat. They're always there. But then sometimes you do see the white orbs or the yellow or orangish. I'm going to say orange orbs.
Right.
We've seen a red out there. So, okay, so now we're saying, is there Bigfoot activity associated with these lights? And that's where people are getting the interdimensional part of Bigfoot. I always keep an open mind of what it is. I'm not just a flesh and blood primate that science hasn't caught up with yet. At the same time, portals are kind of a far stretch because I honestly have never seen a portal before, so I can't really say that. But how is it that in 2014 I was able to follow 12 good size footprints in some deep snow, gets to kind of a clearing, and the last one of those prints is right on a fallen oak. You could almost see like a little scuff mark there, and nothing. Like the closest tree in this one clearing was like about 20 feet away. And back then I'm like,
that's interesting.
I'm kind of like, how could it have jumped? I'm scratching my head first of, I'm hunting the truth. Are these prints real? Did somebody put these here? Was this a hoax? Once you watch the documentary, you'll see the distance,
yes,
and the size and everything. But, so I'm thinking, okay, either A, these things are superhuman and it did jump 20 feet to get to one part of a tree and no other marks around it, or 2, a portal opened up, it walked through it and just disappeared, or 3, that it sprouted wings and flew away, which is even more scary. But either or, that's the fact.
Yep.
Is that something?
I'm going to have to interrupt you, and I apologize because this is what I am interested in too. That we will be right back after this short break with Jay and Bachochin. So y'all just hang with us. See you on the flip side.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello, I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I am so glad y'all are here. This is a great show. So, and Jay, you have got so much good information. I appreciate you answering my questions about the first timers, but we have another question also. And this is from April in chat, who says, where are Bigfoot hotspots in the U.S.? It's all new to her.
I mean, that's a great question, April. I mean, if a lot of people will go up to the BFRO website and you will actually see a map of this organization. It's almost like calling MUFON for UFO sightings. And a lot of these sightings a lot of times people will want to report them directly to a major hub that actually Matt Moneymaker from Finding Bigfoot actually started way back when. But there are tons of places in the United States that I believe would be a hotspot, and that's definitely in the Pacific, Northwest out there in Oregon, Washington, California. However, where is April from?
April, I believe, is Virginia Beach, but she's about to be moving cross country, if I'm not mistaken, from previous chat rooms that we've been in together.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely because I network with a lot of people that are actually doing the same thing, but in different parts of the country. Pennsylvania, the Chestnut Ridge, definitely a very hot spot with a lot of strangeness with Bigfoot, even UFOs being out there. I heard Kentucky was actually one of the big hot spots as well, believe it or not. I would always think, and actually that's how my wife will think. She'll be like, where is she? Where is she with the whole Bigfoot, phenomenon? Yeah, they are possible. They could exist, but in Wisconsin, she doubts it. But she still supports it, but she doubts it. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of people think about the Midwest that way, that, I'm right here bordering Illinois, even in Illinois, there are so many sightings, and you think, well, it's so flat. There's no mountains, there are definitely some big forests like, Bellsmith Springs, a lot of these areas down in southern Illinois. But again, even here in Wisconsin, you would think, why the Kettle Moraine? And the Kettle's actually, was formed by, the icebergs actually moved in that helped form the Great Lakes. Mm-hmm. It actually took a moraine and made them into like inverted mountains. So you don't really see mountains, but they go really deep. But going back to April here, there would be definitely a lot of great spots. And that's why I wanted to find out where she lived, because, you could say California, and Northern California, who wouldn't want to go there? I'd love to go there. That's on my bucket list. Same with Mount St. Helens. That whole area out there, I've heard have been some hot spots. But I like to think smaller and say, right here in southeast Wisconsin, we have them.
I do. I was lucky enough to talk with, oh my goodness, Shelley Covington, Montana, who is part of the Olympic group.
Yes.
And she lives in Texas and goes for about a month out to Oregon and Washington. But, I mean, she goes alone, and I'm just kind of like, oh, wow. In fact, I think I spent most of that 2 hours going, oh, wow. So she is,
right.
She's fierce and a little zany, that one. But she's won awards and stuff as a researcher. So,
well, exactly. And that's what I'm saying is on a bigger scale like that, it would be fascinating to be involved with an organization like that, to be able to hunt the truth that way. And honestly, I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad there are research teams out there doing that, because you know what? I still have to work and make a living. I'm not going to be doing it walking out in the woods. So, I guess if I was a millionaire, I'd be the richest woodsman there is, because I'd be out there all the time to try to. Yeah, exactly. So, but it's great to have that type of research, even with Dr. Jeff Meldrum, being able to take his work in academia serious enough, not just, just throwing that out of saying, it's just somebody looking at it and saying, it is a Bigfoot, because how do you know, right? But to be able to have someone like Dr. Jeff, I actually met him for the first time last June at the PA Bigfoot camping adventure that Eric Altman puts on out there. Yeah, and it's real nice. It was like a nice 3-day event, and Dr. Jeff was there, and it was great because I said, "So, do you believe in Bigfoot then?" And he goes, "Well, it's not so much a matter of belief, because he studies the anatomy, the bones and everything as a professor at Idaho State University, so he knows." By that print, and this goes with the Olympic project because he's a part of that, being able to look at that foot, to look at the dermal ridges, to be able to tell if there's an anomaly or something broken, but something made that print. And that's what he says. Exactly. And that is great. That's great to hear in academia. That way, is something made that print. That's not a hoax. So something that has, a 18-inch foot made that print, and a wide foot too. Because I always say Shaquille O'Neal has like a 22-inch foot, but it's real narrow. Yeah. These are like 18 inches and 6 to 7 inches wide. That's a huge foot. Right, that's a big foot.
Who is not getting sensitive because people should call him Daryl. I still think that's one of the best ads of the season.
But I know, isn't it, Daryl?
It is.
It is. It's still funny doing that. And actually, my son, because I take my family out there. That's the other thing I get, right, is how could you take your kids out in the woods where there's a Bigfoot? Well, number one, you don't believe in Bigfoot, so get off my case. I don't really say it like that, but I'm always like, yeah, but I'm always like, you know what? I want to bring my kids out, and it's during the day, not the night. And it's, it's with me, my wife will come out with me, or, another friend that will come out with me, but they're always to be that safe part of it. But you know what? I grew up in the woods, playing and building forts and getting poison ivy and ticks on me. And that's what we did as kids. So I don't want to hold that back. They're always on their devices and playing their games. And, now they're just e-learning. Everything's just digital. And it's like, no, put that down. We're going to go out and we're going to hike. Now, they know Dad looks for Bigfoot, but at the same time, I'm going out during the day and it's safe. And, I'm a father hawk out there where they stay in front of me, 10, 15 feet max, always in front. I'm always watching them and just enjoying nature, and, I think that's really what it's all about, just to be able to get out there and just enjoy it with family and friends or whatnot, but just to get out there and enjoy nature.
I agree. I'm very lucky that I live in an area that values parks and natural parks. I think that that's pretty much everywhere, but ours are, I live at the bottom of the Appalachians. So we've got what most people would consider big mountains, but they're really not. So
I bet you they're bigger there than Wisconsin.
I would think possibly.
I think so. So you got something going there.
And it's just beautiful. There's foliage. We've got, as one of my dad's Green Beret friends used to say, if there's something that's outside that can kill you, we've got it here in Alabama. So that's always fun.
True. Well, they always say that. Well, the thing is, like you were saying, it's all, geography. And, here in Wisconsin, or at least southeast Wisconsin, we don't have cougars, quote unquote, but we do. DNR says we don't. They're captured on trail cams. They are here. Bear, no, not so much. Might be a stray here or there that makes its way down. But other than that, like you said, there's still things out there that that can potentially kill you. Even wild dogs or a big pack of coyotes. Somebody who I hike with, Michael and David, Michelle and David, sorry. I was just thinking with a couple, where Michelle was actually kind of freaked out by hearing the big convoy of coyote. I mean, they're out there. I always think it's cool. I'm always like, shh, I want to record this because there's going to be a Bigfoot sound in the middle of it. And I know she was a little bit more. It is because it could be scary. And like you were saying about where you're at, what can kill you out there, And that's where it's all about.
Copperheads, coyotes.
Yeah.
Wolves.
You got it all
Bears.
Got it all there.
And we have some big rattlesnakes up on those mountains. It's just wild. It's cool, but I think I must have died by snake bite in a past life because I am terrified of running up across one.
So you never have, or you have run across one?
I have by mistake, obviously.
Ooh. Was he rattling at you?
Out too. Yes.
Ooh.
And
what'd you do?
That's what saved me. So it was, probably going to be my downfall, but he didn't jump because they can jump as long as they are.
Right.
Or more.
They spring into action.
Literally.
So you have you do have and that's just it again. Go across this whole country, whatever east, Midwest, Southern or, the West Coast, there's going to be different dangers in every spot.
You have to know.
And that's it. You have to know. Honestly, that would be the biggest thing is if I was going to go out researching and hiking and I knew there were rattlesnakes, you've got to take those precautions of, where Gators. They generally going to be. Yeah, exactly.
And to make sure that.
Right. Everything
I keep one
right
in my
there.
Car.
Oh, nice. That's good.
So, yeah, I'm a firm believer in. I'm probably going to have a heart attack, so it'll be moot. But at least I'll have something to try.
and hopefully there's somebody there right with you, right, to
who can
try to
do CPR and do the snake bite thing.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think that's
so
good.
Funny because and it's you want to do it when the want to overcomes the trepidation. You just have to get out there. And do you know that we're at the top of the hour? This hour has already gone by.
Wow,
so,
nice.
I know. We are going to be taking a break for the news. And, I know I say this every time. I know people think I'm a Pollyanna, but eventually we are going to get some really good news. It's building up. It's just coming together for us. People are coming out of their houses, so that's good news. I think And, so we're going to be back after this. Take care and join us back at the end of this. It's about a 5-minute break.
Support for NPR and the following message come from DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo believes getting privacy online should be simple. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. President Trump is temporarily banning some travelers from Brazil as the country faces a severe coronavirus outbreak, putting second to the U.S. for the most cases in the world. As NPR's Tamara Keith reports, it's the president's latest partial travel ban.
First, there was China, then Iran and Europe. Now President Trump is banning travel to the U.S. by foreign nationals who've been in Brazil within the last 14 days. Like with the other partial travel bans, there are exceptions. It doesn't apply to U.S. citizens, green card holders, and close family members. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said in a statement that the actions will help ensure foreign nationals who've been in Brazil do not become a source of additional infections in the U.S. She added that the restrictions do not apply to the flow of commerce between the two countries. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
And the restrictions start on Thursday. Brazil is now Latin America's hardest-hit country with more than 347,000 cases and more than 22,000 deaths. The number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the U.S. jumped to well over 1.6 million. Deaths from COVID-19 exceed 97,000. Dr. Deborah Birx of the White House Coronavirus Task Force says going forward, one of the biggest risks for ongoing spread are people who are infected but don't know it.
I think it's our job as public health officials every day to be informing the public that what puts them at risk. And we've made it clear that there's asymptomatic spread. And that means that people are spreading the virus unknowingly. And this is unusual in the case of respiratory diseases in many cases.
Birx tells ABC's This Week she's very concerned seeing scenes of people crowding together this weekend. The U.S. and China are sparring over the coronavirus pandemic, as well as Beijing's plan to impose new security measures on Hong Kong. NPR's Emily Fang reports China's foreign minister now warns U.S.-Chinese relations are reaching, quote, the brink of a new Cold War.
Wang Yi told reporters Sunday that some politicians in the U.S. had taken the U.S.-China relationship, quote, hostage, saying that a political virus in addition to the coronavirus was spreading across the U.S. Wang said that China's vision for Hong Kong was long-term peace and stability, a phrase China has applied to regions like Tibet and Xinjiang, where Beijing operates quasi-police states. Beijing said last week that it would likely impose by fiat a national security law that would effectively end the limited autonomy Hong Kong was supposed to enjoy until 2047. Wang argued instead the law would bring about a stronger legal and business environment in the city. Emily Fang, NPR News, Beijing.
The New York Stock Exchange returns to the trading floor Tuesday after months of electronic-only trading because of the pandemic. But the crowded images we're used to seeing won't be there. Floor brokers will return in smaller numbers and wear masks and practice social distancing. This is NPR. In Hong Kong today, protests over democracy returned with people dressed in black, chanting "Stand with Hong Kong" and "Liberate Hong Kong." This as police fired tear gas and water cannon at demonstrators as they gathered in a popular shopping district. Pro-democracy supporters sharply criticized a proposal by China that would ban secessionist activity in the semi-autonomous Chinese territory. Today's protests are a continuation of a months-long pro-democracy movement in the country. The pandemic isn't stopping this year's National Memorial Day concert. It gets underway in about an hour. The annual PBS broadcast will include new performances and comments from military leaders, but as NPR's Elizabeth Blair reports, this time it won't be live from the U.S. Capitol.
New performances will come from Cynthia Erivo and Renee Fleming. Due to social distancing, singers and musicians filmed their parts separately. The team behind the National Memorial Day concert thought about doing a live stream, but executive producer Michael Colbert says they wanted better quality for military families.
Say it's a family who can't go to the cemetery this Memorial Day. We felt that we would try to make it as good as we could.
The National Memorial Day concert will also include a special tribute to frontline workers of the pandemic. Elizabeth Blair, NPR News, Washington.
And that does get underway at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News in Washington.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. This is Kat Hobson, your host. We are the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am so glad that you are here. I wanted to tell you, there's a new edition of Fate. So if you have not gotten yours yet, or if you are not subscribed, hit fatemag.com and get that taken care of. We have back issues going way back. And, if you have a favorite person who has written an article, submitted an article, then, go ahead and find out what edition that is and get that for yourself or get it for them. I had a guest on my show I did not know had written for Fate, and she didn't either, because she didn't know it had been published. She thought it had just been submitted and gone by the wayside, and our editor knew exactly what edition it was and got it right out to her. How can you top that, right? So check it out. You can even digitally subscribe if you like, whatever works for you, floats your boat. So there's that. Now, I am telling you that we have had the best first hour, and my guest is Jay Bachochin, who is a fantastic researcher. He has appeared on Small Town Monsters and the Travel Channels. What is the name of the Travel Channel show, Jay?
That is called In Search of Monsters. Actually, I appear in episode 8, The Beast of Bray Road, which, by the way, is no more than a 13-minute drive from my house. So I am on Bray Road quite a bit. Oh, yeah.
That's a little
It's nothing
freaky.
really. Yeah. Well, Wisconsin is freaky in general.
So
But,
I understand.
Yeah. I mean, I always say, welcome to Wisconsin. And there's, UFO sightings, dogman sightings. That's the upright canine. And, of course, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And, the people that don't want to believe that those things are here, that's their choice. And I respect that too, by the way. I'm not just all about this is real. This, you have to kind of be out there. And, sometimes people need to see it to believe it. But to do that, you have to go out and discover for yourself.
Well, if you're sitting at home not doing it, then you don't get to fuss about it when somebody says they did.
Oh,
So,
exactly.
that's my take on it.
Yeah. Again, what I look at too is I do give, people the benefit of the doubt too. If they're, if they can't go out or,
That's
to go out with. Exactly. And there's a lot of times people are like that. The people that want to just rip on it because they want to be the first ones to prove the existence of these cryptids. I always say, well, go for it too, but, don't trash on other researchers that are trying to do it. I mean, I always say I'm just a small fish in a very big pond of, how many people are doing this out there. And I tip my hats to everyone who does this. If they don't, I don't know what you'd call professionally or not, but or sometimes people call that a hobby because you're not really making the money for it. But people invest a lot of time, a lot of money into different pieces of equipment, and you got to tip your hats off to them. And that's how I look at, anything I come across is that way. I don't look at it right away and say, oh, come on, that's CGI, that's a person. I mean, it could be, we've all seen the Bigfoot videos or whatnot on, YouTube or whatnot. You're right away, it's not moving the right way. Arms aren't long enough. The knees are, too high. And you know what I mean? And,
yeah,
but you still have to kind of keep things open.
Well, you do. And, when we were talking in the first hour, we had mentioned that, you stay off of when you stay on the paths, you're not just out wandering aimlessly through the woods.
Right.
And so you're not going to hopefully just show up and,
Well,
get
again,
in somebody's face.
Well, exactly. And I always say, because this is my belief, is that when I pull up, they already know I'm there.
Yeah.
And a really good researcher down here in Illinois, Vance Nesbitt, actually came up with a really intriguing way. Because actually we went out about 2 years ago, and he's the one who kind of came up with this. So I give him all the credit on it. But he said, do you know when you go into the woods, we only see the top part. We only see the trees, the plants, the weeds, everything like that, right? But what if, kind of like Stranger Things, turn that upside down? What would the bottom of that ground look like with all the roots of the trees and the plants? Are they all interconnected, right? So therefore, could that be used as a way of determining where we're at all times? You know what I mean? It's almost like a natural surveillance. It's kind of a
and it's a possibility because nature works that way. Joshua trees are supposed to be connected each to another,
right? So, and that's what I'm saying. If they're all overlapped and maybe they're not connected per se, but you have all this dense woods, they've all got to be somehow intertwined somehow. So, and that's what I always think of, So, you get there, and is it possible that they're know exactly where you're at, and are they curious enough, or do they have something else going on? I mean, who knows?
Well, you know what? I think that they do. And that's the only answer there is, because
I know.
Yeah, they're not coming up and giving full interviews. I've asked, but not so far.
Well, so have I.
We have 2 or 3 questions that I want to address because they're pretty good ones. I know that you do the paranormal, the ghost side of the paranormal too. So Maury in chat wants to know, have you run into spirits when you've been out in the woods?
That's a great question. And, when the rocks were thrown at me from out of the woods, could they have been a hunter? Could it have been a person? Could it have been a Bigfoot because that's some of their behavior? Could it have been a spirit? And, that answer would be very much possible because we have seen the lights. We have, come across just things being thrown. And if you know the kettle moraine and the terrain, it's almost impossible to try to keep up with, walking several hundred yards and each rock being thrown right near your feet with dead-on accuracy. It's kind of crazy that way. So my oldest daughter, Madison, actually said, that seems more like that would be more of a paranormal banshee or something out of the woods. And again, Wisconsin is full of Native Americans. I think the area I'm researching right now goes with the Ho-Chunk tribe. There's so many different tribes that just butt up right into this area. And so, all that's possible. We have tried to see if we can capture any EVPs or anything like that. And I had somebody whisper my name, near when we were leaving after one of my nights of my sightings, where it was just a quick Jay. And I thought it was the person I was with, Mary Marshall, at the time. And so I kind of put my stuff down and walk over to her, and I'm like, what? And she's like, what? I'm like, well, you just called me. She goes, no, I didn't. And this is, we're talking about 1 a.m. and nobody around. So that's, you know what I mean? It's kind of unexplainable. Either A, Bigfoot can whisper my name, which wasn't deep and it sounded like Mary, or there are actual spirits out there that could possibly be doing that. So I would have to say yes. Yeah, I would have to say yes, that I haven't heard that.
And I'm going to just put out there that, Mary Marshall, if you listen to this, we love you and we're so glad you're better. So take care of you. Okay.
Yes.
We also, that was scary.
Yes.
Now, Tom wants to know, I know this is a thing when you're actually hunting, like deer and such, but Tom wants to know, do you cover yourself in animal urine while searching?
No, I don't. When I go out searching, I try to wear the brightest colors, the reflective gear. This is all for safety. And this kind of comes to play with why I named my documentary Finding Jay. It wasn't really a narcissistic approach because I made it. It's kind of a play on Finding Bigfoot, where I think that we will never find Bigfoot, but Bigfoot will find us. So
Absolutely.
Bigfoot will find Jay, it'll find Cat. And so with that, a lot of times people will ask that and say, do you try to disguise yourself in camo and try to put, the non-senda and actually go out and sit into the woods? Well, it all depends on what you're looking for. If you are looking for an animal, I always say when you go in the woods, if you look for an animal, you're going to get your animal. You'll get your gorilla. If you go out looking for a person, you'll find a person. You just have to have that respect. So I feel that once I get there, whether there's no signs of them or not, right when I get there, I already feel like they know we're there. And I'm not talking about, the mind speak or anything like that per se, but I just feel like they just know we're there. So therefore, I'm not going to try to sneak in and, try to be scent-free, light-free, wear a ghillie suit and try to get myself in position and then just sit there and wait because this is their home. I believe that you could be looking at one and it's a statue and it just blends in. But the way we are, we're impatient. We're just going to scan. We don't really sit there and look. And even if we sat there and looked and go, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. And you could sit there for a minute and then 2 minutes and still not moving. Okay, it might be a trick of the eyes. 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. Those things can wait you out 10 times over and just be that stump until you're done looking. So again, that's one of the reasons why I won't try to get deep in the woods. I mean, we're already deep in the woods. That's what people say. Even if there's a road nearby, it's just a spot where it's cut right through the kettle, but you're still deep in the woods. So now you're getting away from the road. Even on paths, you're now even deeper in the woods. But now if you get off the beaten path and try to, disguise yourself, they already know you're there. So I try to wear that reflective gear. In fact, my youngest daughter, she has one of those light up toys that if you hit kind of lights up all different colors. I'll bring out things like that to draw attention, to bring them to me because I feel like they're there. I'm just trying to make contact,
And they know that, I think. If it were a human, even if it were a human who was challenged in some way, mentally, emotionally, whatever, they would not approach you until they were confident of you.
100%.
And something like that.
Well,
More
and that's
so.
exactly it. If you're trying to bring them in, and the way I like to say it is, people that fish, you get into I always say a John boat, paddle yourself into a nice bay, throw the anchor out, cast out a bobber and a worm, not the lures, and then just plop it in the water and sit there and wait and talk with who you're out there with and just enjoy it. But that's what you're kind of doing. At least this is my approach. And as I try to fish is what I call it, I will keep the conversation going, but always have one ear out into the woods. And that's what we like to do is do different things, try to laugh, try to bring the curiosity in. Then the only way is that sometimes, not all the times, mind you, rarely, sometimes you'll get things that are tossed. And that could be anything from a pine cone to a little pebble to a branch. And once you're out there enough, you know what a branch sounds like if it's going to fall from the trees from a different natural animal that's up there. And you also know that an acorn will vertically fall down, not go through the trees. So you kind of listen for that. But I think that's where I try to establish the trust factor. Now, the way I'm looking at it is you were just talking about a challenged person. They're not going to approach you until they're confident with you. So if they want to toss something at you, they want to see, is he going to pull out a gun? Is he going to, pull out the machete and the knives? Are they all going to get their bright lights going? We want to see what they're going to do. Yeah. And the longer you can sit and take that, then this is what I feel is that this is their time for making some sort of contact. Or, I could take it one step further and say I was ready. And this was about 2 years ago with Chris Tipton.
Oh,
go ahead.
Wait. We're going to have to take our break because I don't want to get into this and then have to interrupt you mid-stride. But we will be right back after this. Y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I am so glad that you are here because I am having a great time on this show. I hope you are. We are talking with Jay Bachochin, and I am loving every minute of it. And I interrupted you as you were going into an experience, and I apologize for that, but I didn't want to have to stop you midway.
No, that's fine. I appreciate that. I understand there's breaks and bills to pay. No, this was a couple of years ago with Chris Tipton, and just him and I, and we got to our area just as it got done raining. So it was not raining anymore, but with all the trees, leaves, and everything wet, you could hear all the rainfall as you walked in there, just a rhythmic, just all around you, 360 degrees. And, it's pitch dark again, and that's how we usually approach these. I started off banging on trees and yelling as well to try to get replies, but I have found that maybe that wasn't my approach, my technique. So I don't fault anybody for, doing it or learning it from like finding Bigfoot or anywhere else, because I'm sure that works. But in my case, I kind of stopped doing that. Chris was about 12 feet-ish ahead of me. We're on top of a kettle path, and he brought out his own stick. He goes, "I'm going to do a knock." I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So he goes and, cracks the tree twice, nice and loud, kind of reverbs through the kettle. And no matter, it's dark, but I still close my eyes to help focus on listening for a reply.
Right.
And within seconds, I hear right behind me what sounded like bipedal walking, and it took 3 steps from my right, and it stopped directly behind me to my left. Best guess, 10 feet behind me. And I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I tell people I was a tree. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't motion to Chris, behind me. I couldn't even walk to him out of fear. Okay. It was fear. It was, and then you're looking at me, I'm 6 foot average, a bigger guy that way. And, you'd think that, okay, here's that guy who's going to have your back so you could have his back, right? And that encounter really rattled me, because what felt like forever listening to my audio device was only a minute and 20 seconds before I broke out of it, walked directly to Chris's direction, and I already had my thermal ready to go, turn around, and I throw on the thermal right where I was just at, just to see. And I don't know why I didn't put on a light. I mean, who knows what it could have been. But here I was having respect for said Bigfoot out there, that I just wanted to see if I can get him on thermal, and there was nothing there. Now, I have listened to that audio, and I can hear it, but at the same time, I don't want to try to amplify it or point it out to people, because if they don't hear it, it's like trying to say that EVP says Bruce when it says, right. You don't want to give people suggestive thoughts. So I'm like, I heard it, I felt it. And, we did continue on with the rest of the hike, but I slowly processed it more that I wanted contact, and I probably had it, but I wasn't ready. And that really struck so much fear in me that, I hung up my backpack for a month. I said, I'm done. I have no idea what's out here. And whatever it was scared me to my core. And it's really hard to tell, because, you're supposed to be, manly man, you're out researching. And it freaked me out quite a bit. But I slowly got back out, and, Go ahead.
Do you think that had something to do with the fact that it approached you from the rear?
Oh, definitely.
As opposed to if it were in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. And I say that too. I mean, who knows, if I wasn't ready for it and it walked in front of me, I would have fallen down in a fetal position, sucked my thumb, calling for my mommy, and then looking for that extra pair of underwear in my backpack. But at the same time, it's always about feelings, and that's the hard thing in researching like this, because you can't use fear or that feeling as any type of concrete evidence that something's there. A lot of people that are listening that have gone out with me will know that I could be out there at midnight, and it'll feel like I'm sitting on my couch in my living room, just comfortable, just totally no fear in the world. It's just that feeling. And I could be out there during a day and have that fear struck through me, which I did with my kids, that 2017, that's in my documentary. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it was fine walking in. And after that happened, I can still feel that fear, and it's hard to explain. It's, I always say it's hard to tell people too, because that's what I do, but that's what the fact is.
Well, and the fact that you can tell people just lends more credence, I think, to your work, because you have experienced that. I have been fearless in paranormal research for years until I had a reason not to be. And that reason completely altered how I approach paranormal investigation. It
what happened?
I was attacked, and spiritually attacked, and physically, and you know when these things happen, it was, because I read energy, because I'm sensitive, I know. And it was, I was on a case in a home. Somebody who shouldn't have been doing Reiki was, and instead of flinging energy to the ground, they were just flinging their hands in the air. And I felt, I wasn't even looking that way, but I felt like something hit my elbow, and it felt like a sweet gum ball or a prickly pear kind of a sensation. And I could not, I'm usually very good at shielding, and I couldn't get a shield between it and me. I had let my guard down, and it lasted a long time. I had to do, certain things to make it go away. And I couldn't investigate them during that time period because I felt very vulnerable. I wouldn't investigate. I wouldn't open myself up to being in a position where something else could happen because I was vulnerable.
Yeah.
I have been in a jail where every ghost inmate in that jail was irritated with me. Things were banging, cell doors were banging even though they weren't moving. It was the strangest thing on the face of the planet. And I wasn't afraid. The fact that something could attach to me and I couldn't make it let go and go away caused that fear. When I realized I couldn't, get a shield between me and whatever it was very odd. It had violated my physical space.
Yeah.
That was
and the thing is, it's having those, I guess, experiences. And again, they are so hard to explain,
Yeah.
I mean, whether it is the paranormal, and that's the other thing is I really don't put, I don't put Bigfoot in a box, like baby in a corner, but I don't put, I don't put Bigfoot in a box or UFOs in a box and ghosts in a box.
It's all,
yeah.
Same.
And honestly, I believe that's what Mary Marshall was teaching many years ago about quantum entanglement.
Yes.
of all things being one. I mean, people say, is Bigfoot an alien? Is it a ghost? Is it a spirit? I mean, we really don't know these things. We really don't know. I know they would have to be physical to leave impressions, right? I mean,
right.
or the, I would say the smell, or to be able to substance. But who's to say that they can't use? And this would go to Ron Moorhead's quantum Bigfoot as well. With the different vibrations. It all depends on where you're at with this. But just like your encounter or that experience is kind of like the same thing with mine when it was walking behind me. It's I never go into the woods with this utmost confidence that I'm going to walk out of it. It doesn't mean that I think that something bad's going to happen. I just always stay alert and always have your safety, and you will come out of that, but you don't want to be too cocky and too overconfident that you couldn't fall down one of these kettles and hit your head and people couldn't find you, or you're bleeding out or whatever. So you don't want to go in there too cocky, too overconfident with it. And that's how come when I had that experience, I think that's what really kind of freaked me out the most, is that here I am asking for it. Let's make contact. Let's sit down, Daryl, and have a cup of coffee. Let me ask you about where you came from. That's what I want to know, is how long have you been on Earth? Where are you from? Is your dad's name Yoda? There's so many questions I have, and that's really what I want. But look what, I always say, look what happened. A lot of times people will say, well, Jay, people that are really into Dogman said, there's an upright canine standing behind me. And that's what instilled the fear, because both encounters of Dogman and Bigfoot have that. But at the same time, I don't know if there was a Dogman behind me. I don't know.
Think
I
he'd
think
be
that
here.
no, same. That's what I'm saying. And honestly, that's where I go with when it comes to Bigfoot. Then I'm saying, okay, they are more animalistic, the wild side, but I do still think that there's humanity in them. And, maybe that's me being naive, to going into that, because a lot of times people say, you don't want to mess with this, Jay. And I'm like, I'm compelled to. It's not a matter of, wanting to and trying to prove this or that. I always say I'm beckoned to go into the woods. I do. I feel that pull, like a moth to a flame. I'm just always, I have that. No matter what I do during the day, Bigfoot's on my mind. I think I'm going to come up with that slogan. Like, I know you're talking to me, but I'm thinking about Bigfoot. But you know what I mean? It's like,
I can completely relate to that.
Exactly. We all have that, right? We all have that passion. It's like I'm nothing special when it comes to that. I'm just saying everybody has that passion, and that's great. And that's just where I like to go. That's where I'm beckoned to.
Well, that's not a bad thing, because if you have a passion that you follow, then you'll never be bored. It's like working a job that you love.
Exactly. As soon as it's not fun for me, or I don't want to say productive, because, I originally started investigating the ghost phenomenon for several years. And, I never thought that we would get to that final answer. It's either A, people already know that a ghost is Patrick Swayze still hanging around, or Casper, and that's what it is. But I always say, well, if it's that easy, it's not paranormal. It's normal. You know what it is. Case closed. It's done. Why look for it even further? It's just generally how I approach things. When I did the house investigations or whatnot, we would go to the location, set up, and be out there for 6 or 8 hours, depending if it was a long night, come back, and then go through a week, or, how many people are reviewing all the countless audios and videos that you've had set, and then determine if you caught anything paranormal yet. Do you go back the next week? Yeah. And then the next week, and then the next week, and then the next week, and try to keep comparing. And that's what I'm trying to do with the woods. The woods, I don't have to worry about setting things up. It's just a matter of me making that time to go out there, and then listening for this bird, this owl, this, this sound, these breaks. And then over the years, all of a sudden I can go out there now and hear things and just know what that is, because I've heard it before,
I think that's way cool. And I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you felt, because basically the fear you're talking about, that was a primal fear. Mm-hmm. That was an many moons long ancestral reaction to having something you didn't know about behind you. And I know that you do dogmen research too. Dogmen ostensibly communicate telepathically. Did you have any kind of communication in any sense from whatever was behind you? Were you able to recognize anything?
Not with that case. I don't recall anything more than that primal fear. The way, if anybody really wants to know what that feels like, or if you remember being a kid coming up from the basement and you turn off the light and you're trying to run up the stairs because you think there's a creature coming up the stairs after you. You know, that fear of
absolutely
the darkness, right? That's what it felt like, but tenfold. But there was really no communication or anything like that I can recall. Mine was more, okay, it's right behind me to the left. I can feel it standing there. That's in my head. That's all I could think of. Is it's right behind? Oh my! Is it getting closer? I can't hear it anymore. All I hear is the rainfall coming around off the leaves, or is it And this was going on what seemed like forever, which was only 2 minutes, because I could tell by my audio recorder and how long it was before I broke out of it and then got away. But there was never any communication. There was one time. Was about a year later after that, different location, to where I went out with my nephew, and he was more into the, Dr. Greyer, the calling of like meditating with the UFOs, on the beach. And I don't know, I'm kind of, I'll do certain things, but I won't do that.
Right.
That's my meatloaf impression. Because I always, this is just me personally. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to pray to my God. That's what I always say. I can't pray to an alien. He goes, no, it's not praying to an alien. It's just relaxing, closing your eyes, and being open to your surroundings. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll try this out here with the UFO, or not UFOs, but said Bigfoot, if there are. And we said, all right, well, we're going to be quiet for about 10 minutes, just stand back to back pretty much. And it's weird because I think I did kind of open up a little bit, and I just said, in my head, I could just hear myself ask a question, are you here? And I get a reply, yes, but it's my voice. So, okay, is this just me answering my own questions because I want them to be out there?
That's interesting.
Yeah, then I said, well, how many are you? And I just heard, we are many. That's what I heard. Again, in my voice. Then I said, can you come out? Can you make yourself known? And after that happened, within about 10 seconds, nothing replied to me, but a convoy of coyotes, the loudest I've ever heard, started running. I mean, they, best guess, had to have been no more than 100 yards away. They were so close, but there were so many, and their screams and yelps and their weirdness lasted for so long. And that was weird because, again, was it a coincidence? Is this part of the woods that's non-Bigfoot but more spiritual? I don't know. It was weird. So
that's weird and interesting, though.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to tell people that. And in fact, that wasn't really in my documentary again because, well, some of it I wanted to show visually and audio of what's been happening to me. But just to sit down and talk about this, sometimes I hear myself and I'm like, Jay, shut up. You sound crazy. It's like, of course it was you answering your own question if you're doing this. And maybe it was, and there's just so many questions I have about that. But honestly, I've never tried it again. And again, people would say, well, why don't you? And I don't know. I just have
because it was freaky enough the first time.
Yeah, and I already had an icky enough feeling already. Like I said, I may pray to Jesus, but I don't think I'm going to meditate myself to a cryptid or whatever, the unknown, because then I'm messing with who knows what. And I really don't know. So like I said, I tried it that one time, and that's the weird, freaky result I got.
Yeah. Well, we are at our last break, and April said she's had spirits speak to her in her own voice most of the time. So there's that. But we are going to take this last break. We have a lot of questions we're going to get to in our final segment. And if you have more, just put them in there. Jay will answer all of them superbly, no doubt. So we'll be back on the flip side.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. We are having the best time with my guest, Jay, and, well, Bachochin. Sorry, Jay. I went through the whole intro and never said his last name, y'all. It was such a
That's okay. Just Jay, remember. Like Madonna, like Cher, just Jay.
Yeah, you are. You are. You're just that special. But we have questions. And
okay.
I think it's really going to be an interesting segment. Let's see. Sherry has had a couple, and she was interested in knowing if you have ever smelled a Bigfoot or, had a... I know that coyotes smell, but coyotes usually won't get close enough on purpose for you to smell them. So Have you ever had a foul odor?
Fowls wouldn't even do the smell justice. 100%. Again, this is covered in my documentary, and I know we don't have X amount of time, but 4 different occasions, 3 different people, because I was out there at a single time, and this smell is the most bizarrest thing. The only way I can relate to it, because it's happened to me, is I've actually cooked some raw chicken and took the extra part of the chicken we didn't eat and threw it in the trash. If you ever smell that fermenting after a day or two, it'll make you want to gag. Now throw in some swampy, musty poop, foulness enough to make you gag, yes. And it has appeared right there with no wind. There is air current, but no wind, and it will just come and just be strong on you. Then you can walk another 500, 700 yards totally away from this area, and then it engulfs you and then gets stronger and it just follows you. Then it goes away. And it's really a mystery, because if this was, in fact, sometimes people say, well, if there's dead things out there rotting, a mouse in your wall can stink up your house. So a dead carcass out there will stink. But how is it following us with absolute silence, no wind, and that for that long a period of time? And it's happened with 3 other different people documented. So long answer, yes, I have.
That's interesting. Okay. We have another question. Well, a couple of these you've already answered in the course of conversation, and that's great. And I know that you were following tracks, but Sherry wants to know, have you ever found Bigfoot prints that I'm going to assume that she means that you can follow to a lair or something of that type?
No, I've only found, I'm going to say 4, 2 that are totally, that look like a foot, okay? And then I'm going to say about 3 others that definitely have an impression, but you really can't tell by the actual surface of the ground being able to be matted in or anything. But no, I've never been able to follow it anywhere. The 12 tracks that I found in 2014 ended by a big oak that fell over and then disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
The one we found in July of 2016 was a single left footprint near the edge of the bushes or the weeds and whatnot, and we could not find anywhere else it could have pivoted to. And you've got to look everywhere. You can't think like a human. You've got to be able to go super far, do a radius, try to look for any type of signs of broken limbs, broken sticks, weeds, any matting in the ground, and then some other just single ones again. So no, short answer on that one, or long answer, is I've never been able to follow it anywhere.
That would be frustrating, especially, the one that just disappeared. I have had people tell me everything is dimensional, relevant to UAPs and ufology, abductees, just visuals. And I said, well, what about Bigfoot and stuff? She said, it's all dimensional. And
right.
I was just like, wow. Because this is a pretty connected researcher. And I was just like, wow. This is just too bizarre.
And it very well could be, yeah.
Well, until we know differently, right?
Exactly.
I haven't seen a portal either. So.
Right.
Tom McNicholas would like to know, is there any particular part of Bray Road that's a hot spot location?
Hey, how you doing, Tom? Yeah, I know Tom. It's a 5-mile stretch on Bray Road. What I tell people is, people want to go out there and check this out. And you got to remember, they're all second, third, even up fourth generation farmers on these roads, meaning they're all connected. There's no way you can actually pull your car off anywhere and investigate anywhere. So the best place that I've actually had a really close, encounter-ish, that's all I could say again, because I really don't know for sure what I saw, but it was definitely not normal, was right off like the Bray Hospital Road right there. And again, I know some of the people that own some of that land that knew I would be down there, but otherwise just be courteous. They are public roads and you can drive them. I call it, whenever I go out there, I always say I'm patrolling. Just, I don't want to say like a police officer, or I'm not stalking. I'm just driving. I'm driving the speed limit, and there's no law that says you can't. And just keep your eyes open all the time. And hopefully you have a dash cam rolling at all times, because I have for the past 7 years. Haven't caught anything on it yet, but I know for a fact that if anything ever happened to my dash cam and I went out with it, that's when it's going to happen. So have a dash cam and just drive safely out there. Well, you know what? I have become a believer in dash cams. I was driving down a road I live in Birmingham. There's not a lot that's not urbanized to a degree, but I have a road I love to drive down. It just makes me happy. Had the sunroof open, just cruising, and a shadow of a deer. It didn't look like a deer, but it was. Just came and was running up. There was a hill next to me. It was running on the slope of the hill next to me. And I mean, I've never seen a shadow of a deer. I've seen a shadow of my white dog who died. She was like a translucent gray, and this deer looked just like that. So I was just like, I wonder what's after, because he was wide open with the choke out, right? And right. It's like, please don't turn. And then I thought, wait, that deer looks weird. Probably won't matter if he turns, I'm not going to, damage my car if I hit that deer. But it was just one of those strange things that the area we were in is where people used to experience Bigfoot. I mean, back in the day in that area, it was no big deal because people lived
on mountains and in valleys and stuff, and just interacted. Basically, they were considered a nuisance, and you had to be careful, but it wasn't considered an oddity. I find that fascinating.
I know, very much.
When I've talked to people that lived there, and they'd come out, they would get your stuff or whatever. They had to eat, and it was easy.
Right.
But I think the dash cams in that particular area would be catching stuff.
Yeah, they're good for everything. That's what I always say is you don't know. I mean, whether you want to catch a ghost, a light, a Bigfoot, but how about two deer that come out like dressed up like clowns and they're dancing and laughing and that'd be kind of cool to catch, wouldn't it?
Well, you know what? No one would believe it. You go down in notoriety. It would be fun.
I know exactly. That's but it's
CGI.
Exactly.
Those initials, I mean, that just drives me crazy. Everything is not CGI.
Yeah, there was somebody I just saw that posting on that to where show me any CGI software and how you do it, what type of computer, how do you render it? I mean, there's so many different things, but again, it's an easy way out. It's computer generated. A portal, that's an easy out too. Even though are they possible? Yes, but have you seen one? No. Well, have you seen a Bigfoot? Maybe. You know what I mean? There's so many different things. Everything, all that other stuff is pretty much white noise to me, and I try not to let it affect me. Even though I want to join in conversations, it doesn't matter. You'll get slaughtered because there's already those people. It's already a division. So either you got people that are going to want to follow you and like you, or just rip you apart on Amazon Prime saying I'm the biggest hack there is this side of, you know what I mean? So it's like,
well, you're in good company with that.
I mean,
anybody that is willing to put themselves out there on really any anomalous topic, they're just opening themselves up for that. But if you have a passion for it and it's what you saw and it's what you experienced and you're still willing to put that out there, knowing what's going to come, I'm putting my money on the person that's going to take the crap that's coming because they know it's going to happen. It's
just got to do it. That's what people say. They're like, well, what happens if this happens to you? And I'm like, you know what? If I have to take one for the team, I will. And I don't mean that I want to. It's like, I'm got a lovely wife and 3 kids, and I'd like to live out my lives and be a greeter at Walmart one day. But I literally still feel that I'm still compelled to get out there and do it, and tip the hats off all the great Bigfoot researcher investigators out there, all the cryptid, anybody who's in this field, I tip my hat off to, and I really do, and I wish them nothing but success in what they're doing.
Well, that is no more than I would expect. You're very gracious. We have one last question, and this is from Angela. And she says, can some Bigfoots have a really big head, or are they all cone-shaped?
Well, for Angie, hello, Angie. With seeing all the different type of reports, I have heard and also have listened to, documented. Some have had, conical shape heads. Some have had round heads that just look like a person's head that are kind of melded into what looks like huge shoulders, but no neck, but they're just so, involved there. But I have heard of Dogman, that from a very credible source here in Wisconsin, let's just say he's in law enforcement, but really can't talk about it, that saw one, and he said the head was so big on this thing, it looked like the head was ready to fall off the body that it was on. Wow. So just think of a like a bobblehead. They're always super big heads, that this thing went right in front of this police officer, and it looked like, how in the heck can that body support that big of a head? So Angie, I don't know if that's, of what you saw, if it's Bigfoot related with a super big head, or if it was Dogman or whatever it was. That's definitely possible.
Well, thank you for that. I had not really considered that they came in different shapes and sizes, but they would just about have to. We do.
Yeah,
and
sure do.
That being said, we are at the end of the show, but I would like it if you could share with people how to find you.
Definitely. You can actually, the best place to find me, just find me on the website, www.jbachochin.com. And there I have links to Facebook, Instagram. But I try to keep my blogs, everything up to date there. You can also get more information on my documentary, Finding Jay, which you can view on Amazon Prime. Don't know how long it'll be on Amazon Prime forever, but I do have limited Blu-ray copies, which are great to have for your collection. And you can actually buy those right off my website as well if you'd like. But just want to thank you again, Kat, for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share my experiences.
Well, thank you for sharing them. I have totally enjoyed this conversation, and we already have requests for you to come back and do a Dogman show. So,
all right.
We will line something up. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right. For all of our listeners, y'all are the reason that we do this. I appreciate every one of you being here because, you are the reason for the research, the writing, the trying to find such fantastic guests to bring information to you because you're curious like I am. You want to know and you want to have that knowledge base so that if you decide you want to go out, now you have safe ways to do it. You've got ideas to do if it's your first expedition or just an overnight hike in the woods or whatever you do. I appreciate the fact that you take your time to come here. And for those who are listening through download, thank you too, because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. Now, I know that everybody is just so sick of being indoors. Everybody is starting to put that toe in the water coming out. Just please know that you can make this world better. Just manifest the change. If you see somebody acting ugly, just be positive with them. Be the change you want to see. We all can do that. We'll talk to you next time here on Fate Mag Radio. Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.